Another little recovery conversation goes like this. I'm getting well. In your dreams. Funny you should say that, because I am getting well in my dreams. We addicts process temptation and resistance during the day and also in our dreams. Last night I dreamed back to when I was 2 months sober. I was out on the town, strolling along an easy block from my favorite watering hole. Couple of my favorite slushy double Grand Marnier extra shot strawberry margaritas awaiting. I had no intention of resisting such a lovely plan. But then another voice, undoubtedly the one I've practiced with you in our videos, said, "But tomorrow you'd feel sick. 2 months healing gone, and you'd be again jonesing for monster bashes without end. Some joy in life there, more like misery and death. Of course I will reject such a sick plan." My dream, word for word. After achieving a sobriety date, I hear that almost everyone has regular recovery dreams. Virtually everyone starting with a drugging idea, followed by a little angel-devil debate. You don't suppose our awesomely challenged drug or heal brain situations contain, express, and effect their true night therapy identical to the daily cure our consultations focus on like a laser, while classic worldly or heavenly reform meanders everywhere but? Do you? In early recovery dreams, the bad guy often wins and we fall off the wagon. Since I've done my waking exercises and your videos, my dream angel kicks butt every time, even when the beastie starts out strong and dances me to the physical and emotional edge of actual relapse. I've heard others in AA report the same dramatic progress, reversal of outcome from tragic to perfect in their Sleepy Time Chronicles as they strengthen over the critical first 2 years their conscious and rational as well as faith-based power. Don't you recall spending your years of addiction living those debating voices? Losing the fight before every binge, and winning to begin periods of deliberate, as in deliberation, abstinence? No doubt your dreams reflected a similar shabby batting average during messed up times. Dreams are far more thoughtful, ethical, rational, scientific truth than disordered fantasy. And rational recovery and the beast voice versus our higher divine and human mind and spirit debate are not smarty pants theory. This is exactly how people through history, asleep and awake, have always defeated poison-caused mental illness with our higher power brilliance and beauty, some ridiculous designer built into all of us, never to die until we spurn or burn and don't learn and earn our last chance to use it with one too many relapses. Certainly, God is the secret, but so are you and I. And everybody's telling you, you are telling you, merely add a waking debate each day to your dream work. You'll recall my reports, poorly documented, I'll admit, that 5% of people stay with religious recovery and 70% who attempt rational recovery succeed. Let's discuss then this hypothetical theory. Suppose your mind and spirit were far more powerful against your weakness than external ideas, ethics, and spirits. How would this work? Differently than modern standard recovery techniques, both psychological and spiritual, that hammer you with lots of rules for becoming a better, smarter person, but seldom formally focus on the critical verbal internal fight you must never lose once to the next 1,000 beast maneuvers to make you relapse now. Typical rehab does work almost all of those times because our extended time abstinent, overextended time abstinent, your beast demands dwindle appreciably, though still at regular intervals apply bursts of white-hot pressure. Your strengthening ethics, mental health, practical intelligence, and growing habit of decisive refusal, if not the extra eloquent Socratic dialogue I promote, all handle most temptations nicely, and your odds of life recovery climb, though it takes years. But let's take a closer look at AA-style recovery's 1% effect and how you can plug the leak. Without that regular practice bashing that beast on the head the second it pops up, think whack-a-mole. For example, by highlighting your devastating history and foolish future with poison, and your heavenly climb without it, neglect this thoughtful, powerful, glorious answer instead of practicing it to perfect memory, and your remaining armory of sagacious superior virtue may not always impress your cynical, contemptuous, impatient, short-sighted, greedy, irreverent, bad seed. Actual relapse happens when the deep brain instinctive beast runs its temptation up the flagpole to our deliberative deciding mind and hopes you're not a powerful practiced deliberator, because that devious deviant intends to bypass your slightly shaky, lazy, rusty, sober logic, reasoning, and resistance to shoot into and fire up a zillion old memory banks circuit web together to spread an explosion of bullshit reasons and excuses to go grab more dope now. Even years of sobriety suddenly utterly dismissed and forgotten. The most powerful and dangerous of these thoughts are instant new reliving of sounds, sights, smells, tasks, sensations, and fabulous relief and ecstasy of the most early, compelling highs you've ever experienced. Only your best mind control our discussions have worked toward throughout can invariably stop these devastating descents to irresistible weakness and surrender. The first 6 months of sobriety is the highest danger time. The most frequent recurrent cravings, especially methamphetamine, heroin, cocaine, and crack cocaine. Your conventional rehab's high-minded wall of faith, virtue, and mental health will not always direct your reason and choice at moments of relapse danger if your only practice was at safe times without even simulating beast attacks. You won't always have your .50 caliber machine gun directed at the very cerebral chinks that slime ball's gonna try and squirt through to your final waiting slam-a-dose now circuits. Without our highest minds at 100%, 24/7, we must assume that our nemesis will eventually make an ass out of you and me. Then 1,000 bullshit circuits are firing off like the 4th of July, and we are in deep doo-doo. Okay, let's start over. And this time, and every time, build up and stay on track your cortex route to an undefeated life season and world championship. Just as I've gone nuts with throughout my speeches, you really must conduct occasionally thorough and frequently short debates, each elevating your beast to shriek its most magnificent garbage from center stage to the rafters. Then you batter it bloody and beaten every time with detailed, devastating logic from your history and future. And the present it ain't never gonna get. Now, flash forward to every one of the myriad moments of truth or consequences that will ambush your entire future. Any and all of these beastly lures, you'll never stop from briefly flashing into your conscious reason and choice center, but they will never manage to sidestep over to bamboozle those relapse circuits, because you've whipped them so many times that they're forever losers, and they know it. You'll never fully destroy your beast servant brain department, but it will never destroy you. And why does that pathetic scumbag always get stomped on the porch before it gets in your door and runs to the game room? Because you made sure that your conscious, beat-the-beast reasoning and decision circuits stay on steroids. They're lightning fast, punch like jackhammers, knock out every sap in the first round, and they know it. To recover forever, relapse never, Sunday school don't get it. You got a brain train. I would so love to be a nurse around newly recovering addicts. I'm no expert or trained counselor, and I'd never hammer 'em with opinions or advice. I've been around hundreds of newly recovering addicts, most of them frankly coerced and guided to a rescue residence. Nearly all did a wonderful job of reflecting on their active addiction's disasters and applying their rapidly healthier, drug-free thinking to their futures undoped. I would gently reflect and encourage their troubleshooting and briefly confess a similar, if longer, history of their problem, with steady progress recovering with use of their exact present inspiration and effort. Every time I think again of good reasons to stay sober, I do. My obsession and talent I work on is reasoning. I'm finding that the secret to permanent recovery, for me anyway, is to keep adding reasons. If you keep practicing those reasons, each powerfully confronting identified and expressed addictive lures and excuses, deliberately at safe and secure times of your choosing, when you have the luxury of reflection, then later, under pressure, you got this, and you win again. You'd better. Isn't it amazing, commented a friend of mine, how chemists make drugs to change our body functions? Not compared to our internal genius, I replied. I recently heard a Dr. James Mason interviewed by the journalist Robert Crowlidge. He said that drugs are designed to fit and bind, atom by molecule, into equally specific cell membrane and nerve synapse receptors. For years before artificial chemicals or discovery of most medicinal plants, our ingested foods and our own internally produced useful molecules mated with those interlocking receptors to cause necessary healthy processes. Our own natural pharmacy ready when Eli Lilly or Davy Dealer don't deliver. Those toxic when overused uppers and downers, legal or otherwise, mimic our own opiate and stimulant chemicals and also boost our own dopamine, though crudely, excessively, and temporarily. Dr. Mason reviewed recent studies of various medicines for pain and sleep, including use of placebos. His subjects consistently enjoyed major pain and insomnia control even when allowed to assume that mere sugar pills were the real medicines, although the genuine drugs lasted until the liver broke them down, whereas the subject's self-treating power ended a couple of hours sooner. Future medicine, said Dr. Mason, will focus on stimulation of our own internal pharmacy. Exactly what your efforts at rational and spiritual recovery are doing right now. Provided that my babble hasn't frazzled your dazzle. Speaking of self-healing, we already know that loving and social relationships can add years to our life. That positive attitudes boost our immune systems, that similar serene and happy emotions reduce heart disease and fight cancer, and that hypnosis or emergency will produce phenomenal physical strength. Those studies' placebo effects could also be turned off with shocking speed. For example, red-colored placebos were worthless. Merely gazing at that angry red hue immediately short-circuited any internal subconscious belief that we were going to get real calm or comfy. Whereas the peaceful blue sugar babies convinced our neurons to design and deliver our own psychochemical tranquilizers and opiates for well-being and sleep. Medical building designers know when the room's blue, you're not. In many, not all cases, of course. One study found an exception to the beauty of blue. Italian men could gobble blue placebos day and night, but remained hurting and sleepless. Researchers were mystified until someone pointed out that these men spent weekends screaming, singing, and sometimes brawling for the national soccer team. Fighting color, blue. One glance, and they all saw red. Dr. Mason believed this reaction, one example among thousands, that human belief, function, and behavior is often determined by one causative circumstance, event, or reaction, a snapshot in time, a thought or emotion beginning an internal chain reaction, a cerebral, behavioral, physical direction towards a good or bad outcome. However, blue pills upsetting only Italian soccer fans is an external determinant out of their control. And I strayed over to such colorful fun that I forgot our real subject. Internal influences and directions very much our choice, in our control. We have, without toxic snarling of thinking, incredible internal psychological power to determine our logical and emotional ideas. Every snapshot our choice to make any and all times when we need to decide, firm, or straighten our thought into action. A cause and effect chain reaction towards that planned, intentional result. An ever brighter future. During my last, and I mean last, rehab, I took a brief class in meditation. I learned that any minute of my life may automatically invite, before I can prevent it, one or another of my beast voices to express negative ideas, emotions, and plans. Without controlled, intentional introspection, We may keep cycling disturbed thoughts and feelings until they drive us to unfortunate actions. Nearly identical to your debating cure for addiction is the boundless, loving open-mindedness of meditation. I am not referring to chanting mantras or sucking giant breaths while thinking of nothing. For true cosmic transformation, try this. Hop in a balloon and float far above your worried, warring ideas and emotions, but you're still watching them through a 1,000-power telescope. Listen, too, to your sorriest, angriest belief that can dominate and upset you when you let it. Don't let it. Amazing how a pessimistic idea grabs a hopeless, nasty emotion. Or did that bad feeling come first and demand a supporting theory? And with that sorry duo, you're bound to pick a crazy action, too, aren't you? But not so fast. Way up in your balloon, none of those three stooges even gets a vote right now. First, focus on the ominous thought and just muse. That is one bad news theory, and my reasons are not necessarily silly or wrong. But is that irritating idea really the best I can come up with? It pitches me to a seemingly inescapable negative conclusion and dumps me into a stinking pile of miserable emotions. Just as you sometimes choose to listen to your beast whine as an exercise, now invite those painful emotions to do their worst. Oh my, what's with the little chuckle? You're remembering how terrible they always made you feel before when you weren't up here in the open sky where it stays sunnier and breezier. This elegant detachment has you asking, didn't my sadness, anger, pessimism, or fear always push me into hostile or scaredy cat actions? Such as doing dope, picking fights, and giving up on my dreams? Suppose I temporarily set aside any plans to first change my thoughts or emotions. What have I done about masses of bad actions wrecking my life and friendships too? Nothing while drugging myself except ever more stupid actions, right? And tons of better actions with better results, along with retiring the poison, right? But now that I'm free of so much foolishness, harm, and pain, I'm still not free of mistakes and sorry attitudes. So I'm going to direct this meditation to each action I have in mind. Any from negative ideas and emotions are immensely likely to have bad consequences, right? So just like my abstinence action revolution, saving and enhancing my consequent life, my big decision now is to rule out each and every tempting but upset action plan only threatening predictable harm. No. N-O. Stop. I'm only going to arrange heavenly, no more hellish results. Now there's kick-ass progress already. And hey, aren't those wrong moves I just kicked out of town caused by incomplete or mistaken ideas? And also by pointless, erroneous, rotten emotions? But how tough are those to get rid of? But wait a minute. Didn't I just decide to avoid harmful and choose helpful actions? Well, hot damn! My new theory is help out. So my new emotion has to be optimism. What kind of weird wind in the stratosphere blows me a new brain, heart, and soul just by telling me to act with care? Oh, I get it. Care is love. Thank you, God. Now look down at the pessimistic, angry theory, bad emotions, and soon to be regrettable actions you've properly surveyed. Time to easily slide everyone off that field below. Looks greener and prettier, for sure. At the edge of the meadow over there, the deep grass waves and sparkles. So you invite a couple of small but hopeful, loving feelings to come out and play for a minute. Now, re-examine your bad news, worse action theory. You can't. It's gone. Why? Once negative emotions and actions are rejected, the ideas driving them starve to death. Just as you refuse poison, then lose the pain and need, and then destroy your silly theory of intoxication with the brilliant, successful theory of sobriety, you may now again change your actions for better results, which turns emotions positive and gives you more good ideas. Life's first priority must be right action for good result. Happiness and smarts then bob up next like yo-yos. But truth be told, you start every ball rolling with intentional, benevolent optimism. Active emotional brilliance. True love seizes your mind, heart, and muscles at once. Positive circle rolls along, replacing mental illnesses with healthy situations. Returning to the moment your pessimistic thinking vanished with those dangerous plans and unhappy emotions, you may easily find a lovely, revolutionary new theory by directly inviting specific, positive, goal-oriented ideas and beliefs to fill the vacuum. Now, more happy emotions. Suddenly hope and love smile. Suggesting a couple more practical, progressive, if moderate and cautious, new action plans. You have months and years of these little sessions to improve thoughts and behaviors, but for now, ask only what will always heat and lift your beautiful balloon. All you need is love. From the bright blue, sunshine bathes your body, mind, heart, and soul, heating, lifting your courage, hope, happiness, and peace. Each song of human love in action rising with your conductor's arms, your symphony's crescendo from family and friends in the orchestra. Seize your ecstasy, your human and divine love of all actions and people you need until all your thoughts and actions can no longer stray apart from, but ever fuel and justify your heavenly emotions of love. This love in action gives you energy, hope, desire, ambition, and brilliant ethical strategy. Results are marvelous, your love is returned, and you, your loved ones, and often colleagues are happy. That snapshot of mental attitude that determines our next choice is often set up by a chain reaction of history and hurt that may dominate us for years. If you have begun abstaining from drugs after long periods of addiction, your brilliant new sober action improved your thoughts and emotions no end. You're breaking that chain of history and hurt. Your healing actions, lifting loving emotions and ideas, especially newly intelligent choices. For more good actions leading to great results. Your recent rehab, good work, good health habits, and improving relationships frees you from continuing your deepest hurts or longest worst history. So now you're totally safe and secure, right? Nope. This very second you might still suddenly accept a bad emotion, an even worse idea for a dreadful, disastrous action, without even a minute of reconsideration. So we'd better agree, you and I, to always insist on another few minutes of high-low debate or meditation before allowing impulse, instinct, or hurtful history to destroy everything we love, dream, hope, and work for. Before losing your temper, your way, or your sobriety, count to 10 real slow and take every meditative moment to bring your A game. I heard about an illuminating research study that answered a most important question. How did the best in each field of endeavor get there? 1. They had a vision and a goal. 2. They broke the effort down into small, progressive tasks. 3. They averaged 3 full hours daily on their dream for at least 10 years. I'd like to find other studies proving what you and I have already discovered, that each of these revolutionary techniques have changed our lives forever, even when we commit only minutes, not hours, but do build on our purpose every single day. For example, a father's career is overly intense. He collapses on the sofa after 14-hour days. Without time or energy to nurture his daughter, he still resolves every night to tell her a bedtime story and tuck her in with a kiss. She goes on to a happy career and lovingly cares for her husband and children, because she had grown up secure in her father's regular little love. Here's another example provided by millions of Healing for Life AA members who encouraged me to begin my day with a prayer, regardless of how religious I am or not. So I try one. Dear God, today help me to protect and love myself by refusing deadly drugs, so I may also work to love others for their happiness, which sure ought to keep me smiling too. I recently attended a class. We were asked several questions about our reasons, motives, or excuses for using drugs. My answers all boiled down to suppress my withdrawal symptoms ASAP. If you were driven to use half as constantly and massively as I was, you also recall 99% of your direct drugging impetus, the massive coercion of your jonesing for a fix. Didn't we keep getting stoned to avoid feeling crushed? And when you did occasionally manage to abort your slow but sure suicide for a week here and a month there, you found the raw courage to temporarily, successfully endure those supposedly unendurable symptoms. And all of us who got some help attempting recovery spent time around a number of others, also managing helpful, hopeful chunks of abstinence. Wasn't one of our better strategies to avoid relapse celebrating and refusing to relinquish our fantastic advantage of having quickly eliminated a large fraction of our withdrawal symptoms? Even addicts of meth and heroin, troubled by more recurring desire than different users, still valued the declining pattern of need while striving to greater vigilance. My speeches, if not most rehab, zero in on the psychological cravings that decline 100 times more slowly and never die. Much rehab and faith recovery doctrine has become forbiddingly complex emotional, spiritual, and intellectual strategies to direct our lives far beyond that critical psychological drugging desire and internal propaganda. The 100 necessary new rules from the authorities of sober living. We're offered little time or focus to build on a single crystal clear theme: that psychological desire will ever return to tempt us at intervals, that dangerous, crazy, scheming, neurological residual or cousin of our hijacked survival instinct, the memory of the chemical, physical need we had spent years learning to never refuse. I propose that you and I hammer that history and danger a few minutes every day, and then we'll shout with joy. Now I have learned to refuse death, and I'm practicing again this very minute. I recognize and listen to each tempting lie, and even reckon with the one and most dangerous truth: that getting high again would feel good. And I'm going to grab that 2 hours of joy the very minute I finally fully decide to pay the price. The next 20 years of my horrible, miserable, abusive living death. Know thy enemy. Confront and outflank its every foray. Watch its every weapon fire. Shield yourself from every explosive impact. And always kick its butt with hilarious gusto. Direct your own truth, love, and future like a laser for mere minutes a day, and you'll never off-ramp over to the highway to hell and forever cruise the scenic route to your heaven on earth. And for the rest of each day, your ongoing victory over temptation is always a new life, so glorious and addictive that resuming your poison would require your ultimately painful, tragic, evil, and stupid withdrawal from each and all of your best dreams coming true. Shall you embrace your chemical crush and destroy your body, mind, heart, soul, family, hope, and life? No, you'd rather make love to a chainsaw. Like that visual? In your recovery for life, you are every bit as driven by pleasure or pain as you once were in the throes of addiction. Only now you actually succeed in finding joy without horror, by using your very own biological, psychological, spiritual, sound, sensible science. Or, as Bugs Bunny puts it, strategy. Will Ferrell, however, recommends strategery.